Yes, we are back. We are back, baby. It's another beautiful Saturday noon live. Welcome to yet another episode of Forever Open Radio. Yes, your favorite guys are here, back to give you the vibes, give you the entertainment, give you the culture, the things that we usually do. This is also episode 10.
Episode 10?
Realize. Yeah. Episode
Really?
10. You know what I mean? So we cooking. I was watching a video on you know Lil Russell, the rapper Lil Russell?
Yes, sir.
Fire. I think he's from the Bay. I know he's like from this side. But I was literally just this morning, and it's funny because I was like thinking about the podcast and just like everything that we got going on. And what he was saying, he's like, anything that you're trying to do, he's like, before you expect anything from it, like do 100 of them.
Wow.
Like if you got a podcast, do 100 episodes. If you're making beats, make 100 beats. He's like, because by the time you get to 100, you're gonna be in a whole different place than you were when you had 0, right? So it's about just starting. So I was like looking at our stuff, and I'm looking even from episode 1 to like where we're at now, episode 10, the production's going up. We got more mics, more cameras, and things like that.
More cameras,
So it's just
more
something-
people.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, by the time we get to 100, like,
Straight
what's
up.
that? I mean, what does 10 times this
That's that
look like?
10,000 hours.
10x.
You feel me?
Put in them 10,000
Put in
hours.
that, right, that 10,000
Professional.
hours. My fault, I got a little ahead of myself. Introductions. I am your boy, Dusty P. To my right, I got my guy
SCSJR.
in the building. And we also got,
Big Chris on the 3s and 4s.
listen, Big Chris, who's actually even bigger Chris now, because as you notice, you can actually see my guy now.
Ah.
Isn't that, that's crazy. Like he's talking and he's on the camera
Straight
right
up.
now.
Let's
Like what's
go,
going on?
baby.
It only
Straight
took us
up.
10 episodes. It
That's
only took
it.
us 10 episodes to get there.
For sure.
So I think that's fire. I think
But
that's
we
fire. We
here.
also do have a few other folks in the building.
Man, we got
with
some
us.
special.
Man, why don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, why don't you
Some
intro
special
You know what I'm
together?
saying? It's
Let 'em
a
know.
Smalls world in this mother effer.
Who we
You
got?
know
Who we
what I
got?
mean? Who we got? We got
Leslie Small,
and
Mr. Chris.
Leslie Small
and
Mr.
they're
Chris.
brothers. They're my uncles. This is a family affair. Time has come, and you are witnessing greatness.
Yes. For y'all know, right? We had Mr. Chris on the last episode, dropping some gems on us. I know people was rocking with that, so happy to have him again, and happy to bring a new voice in as well through Leslie here. So you know what I mean. So we gonna be vibing. But to get into it, man, I noticed I was like scrolling through the gram and stuff like that, and I peeped that you and C-Mill actually have a birthday coming up.
Birthday 321, baby.
Yeah, there's a birthday. Oh, 321. That's fire.
321 and C Mills is 44.
There's 4-4, and then mine's just so happens to be 4-8.
Let's go.
So it's like, right, 3 Aries just kind of clashed like out of nowhere. But I know we got something going on. As of you're watching this, will be a week from today.
Yes.
Could you tell them a little bit about
we
what's
have
going on?
an
on
artist
the 28th?
showcase on the 28th, where we're gonna have 20 to 30 artists performing here at Open LA Store. And in the midst of the performance, we're gonna be celebrating the lives of C Mills, SCSJR, and everyone else that is an Aries. It's all love, baby.
Aries, tis the season. Now I want to ask you something, right? I think birthdays. Now I've been to plenty birthday parties, birthday dinners, birthday, all that type of stuff, and it's always. I feel like there's certain things or certain etiquette. You know what I mean? That it would be a lot better if it was just like standard rules, but I know everybody approaches it different. Right.
Okay.
So I want to know your thoughts. I want to see if we can maybe just lay out some foundation of just like what are just some general birthday celebration, birthday party, kind of etiquette that we can like all agree upon. Now the biggest one always is the bill. So say this, you gotta
talk about
So
that.
say you got a birthday dinner, right?
Okay.
Boom, and you these people didn't ask to be there. You invite these people. Yo,
Right.
it's my birthday.
Birthday.
We're going to town.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Everybody pull up. We on the stairs. We under the Buddha, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Everybody pulls up, and then you come out, and it's time for the bill.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I'll ask, the birthday person that does the birthday person
Don't
pay?
even look at the bill.
Don't even look.
The birthday person they shouldn't even look at the bill.
And that's expected. Like not even like let me act like I'm gonna pull them from my wallet and wait for somebody to be like, nah, we got you. You saying come into hey, I want all y'all to come, and in my mind, I already know I'm not paying.
So you're saying that I'm inviting everyone.
Yeah. It's your birthday.
Come out.
You invited everybody. Come out. We're gonna go do dinner.
That's a little different.
So,
That's a little different.
I'm saying.
If I'm how it should be, even if I'm inviting everyone out, the birthday person should never look at the bill. Okay? The birthday person should be taken care of by the people that's there. Okay? Now, if for some odd reason, and my Uncle Leslie has been in this position a lot of times, During his birthday, growing up, family would come, they would order what they ordered, and Uncle Leslie would have to pay for the bill. But Uncle Leslie is Uncle Leslie.
So just the expectation, just like, oh, he got it. This
You
ain't
know,
nothing,
but
that, like,
even still, I always felt kind of weird.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you shouldn't have to pay for the bill because it's your birthday.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But sometimes, the majority of the time, people have it and people don't have it. And depending on where we're dining at, most of the time, people definitely don't have it.
Mhm.
So it all can be calibrated.
Yeah.
It's all just, it's all love, man.
Yeah.
It's all
I think I think it's an intention thing, right? I
Okay.
think even because like you think a person got it, I don't think that should automatically mean like, all right, you're paying for this. And at the same time, if it is somebody's birthday, I think that is the way that you show love. I feel like that is like an unwritten rule. It's like, even if it was like, yeah, this person invited you guys out, not because like I need you to pay for my meal,
right.
because I want to have communion
Fellowship.
Fellowship, feel love, good vibes, and just like celebrate my life. And so in return, I think it would make like that's what it should be. In any case, it's like everybody should be like, nah, whether you split it amongst everybody or whatever.
Right.
But I would agree, like the birthday person, even if they invited everybody out, set it all up, shouldn't have to pay.
They
Can
should.
I ask a question?
What do y'all think?
Well, seeing that you brought up birthdays, right? And from a family standpoint, as we was growing up, the only gift we got in our birthdays when we were growing up is that we didn't have to do no work in the house. We didn't have to do no chores. We didn't have to do nothing for that day. And I move it forth to say that I've realized recently the celebration of your birth date has went from a birthday to a birth weekend to a birthday month.
Mm-hmm.
And so my question is looking at the importance of the continuous celebration where one person, an artist, Prince said something to me that makes me ask this question. He said that you were born one day, and that's the day that you were born. What does the second one mean? And that's my question.
Yeah.
Because when he said that, it makes sense because the way that we're taking that particular ideal of celebration, and now we're expanding it to the point where it's like, is it going too far? Is it too much? Are we supposed to do it? That's my question. Because when I heard Prince say that, you're born just one day, and that's the day that you're supposed to be celebrated.
Right.
I mean, that's the way I took it. For sure.
Yeah. No, I feel so. It's funny. So my mother-in-law, I know she watches this, by the way, so I know she watching. Love. She does that when she celebrates. It's the whole month, like shut it down the whole month. I'm doing this, something at the house. Maybe she's like whatever. But I'm cool with that because I don't think you can celebrate your life too much. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. There's different varying degrees of how much energy you want to put into something that's making you happy. But if somebody is like that excited about life of like, yo, I made it another year. I made it this whole 365 days. So I'm not just going to commemorate it for this one day, but I'm going to take this week to celebrate that. I'm going to take this month to celebrate that, right? This is a time where I can give myself the flowers, shine the light like on myself and just like enjoy the fact that like I'm still on this earth.
Right.
I'm cool with that. I'm like, I respect it.
What's your thoughts?
I got two things to say about that. I think one, what you can't leave out in terms of a birthday celebration is that you didn't do nothing to get here. That your birthday really is a celebration of your parents, right? Because they did the work. You know what I mean? Your mother, had to carry you for 9 months, right? Then she had to bear you in pain. You know what I mean? And then she put you on her breast, and you made her breast start sagging and shit, right? So it's like, the big part of the birthday for me is one, the real celebration is that of my parents because they did the work to get me there, right? And then they, if you got the proper relationship, they brought you into your manhood. Like your mother brings you from, the womb to your manhood. Like even Jesus had to come through a womb to get, to his manhood, and Mary had to usher him there, right? And so on one side of it, from our perspective, our cultural dynamic, right, it becomes us celebrating our parents. Then when it comes to you getting flowers from your community, right, the question becomes is who in your community is speaking up saying that you deserve those flowers, right? Like what have you inputted into the community, not just yourself, that brings you to the point to where as a community says, I want to celebrate this person this brother, this sister, because of what they've given and sold into the community, and they deserve it, right? And so if we have the right kind of concept, our birthdays then move our culture forward, right? Because the birthdays are a reflection of every year, what have I done, right, in order to increase the value of my existence within the people that I'm coming in contact with.
Yeah, that is actually a very, both of those points, very interesting perspective that I've never thought about before. Is that, yeah, it's like my birthday comes and every year, then you expect the parent, especially like when you're younger, the parent's like, what are you gonna buy me for the fact that you brought me 7 years through life, 11 years through life, 15 years through life, you know what I mean? But that second piece I think is really important, is what do we, and when you're celebrating someone's life, like what are we celebrating, right? So that's the question, like is just existence, is that something for someone to be celebrated, right? Is it everyone's responsibility to contribute something like to the community, to society, or is just staying out of the way, not being problematic, like is that also okay, right? Do you think it's everybody's responsibility there?
I think that was well said. I really do. Yours, his, and when he said parents, how the part they played in your coming into this world, because you had nothing to do with it. And I would say to you that in the world that we live in, for some reason, our parents are not getting their props. Because I was there when my first daughter was being born, and I saw what her mother went through, dilating the 10, going through the 9 months, all the different doctor appointments, all the different discomforts, all her body moving around inside to accommodate the delivery of this child. And so the thing about the parents, I think, was spot on, and that way we don't have to look at it from a more my birthday standpoint.
Right. What am I getting? What am I getting?
And I think that was the greatest thing said, is that what contribution have you made as a person to the people around you, your community, those that you love, those that you work with, those that you see, those that you talk with? What sort of energy have you put into that, that environment,
those offers,
to move our culture forward, so that then when we see you and we know that this day 30 years ago or 40 years ago, you were brought into existence, and guess what? We're happy that it happened. And I think that comes somewhat supports, because I think it's a little bit of a stretch to go from your one day you were born, that's just me, to a whole weekend or a whole week when you're only born one day. So I'm just saying is that sometimes you got to think, if you put too much sugar in the cornflakes, it ruins the cornflakes. So if you do too much of something that's good, how does that really affect what you're trying to do? Because if you do it over and 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 over, what it becomes.
I have a question. Since we have a well-balanced room, right, in the sense of age, how was it created? How was birthdays created?
Are you asking the celebration of the birthday?
Right, yeah. How was that created?
From a historical standpoint.
Yeah, you guys have any answers?
Yeah, I mean, the birthday, again, it goes back to what sort of we first said, the day you're born, when you think about all that has to happen for you to get here, right? Like if you look up into the sky at night.
Is it a pagan holiday?
Let me just say this. When you look up into the sky at night, right, and you see a star, that light was started 1 billion years ago.
Right.
It took 1 billion years for that light to get here.
Wow.
Right.
That star might not even exist at this point.
100%. So that star might not even exist. And so for your journey to get here, it doesn't start physically. It starts spiritually. Right. And so the reason it was chronicled, because the combination of your spiritual reality and your physical reality comes together in birth. Wow. That is an amazing miracle of existence.
It's perfection.
It's perfection, right? And so the reason you celebrate that day, because that is the day where this unique thing called being human, right, with melanin in your skin happens. And it's at that moment. And that moment for you is unique for you, and no one else can share that, right? And so it is about that, right? The question then becomes, is that once you're born in that space,
wow,
what do you do?
What do you do?
Right? what do you do with it, right?
do
And
you
with
do
the
with
winds of time and all of those other things, the question becomes is how does your life impact things? Back in the day, they used to say, you take a man's good deeds and you throw them on the wall.
Bow.
You take a man's bad deeds and you throw them on the wall.
Bow.
And whichever leaves the biggest stain, judge him by that.
Bow.
Which means that you're gonna do some good and some bad, but you should do more good than more bad. So on your birthday, it's a great day to reflect and say, like, was my year, did I do more good this year than I did bad this year, right? And so it's a demarcation. It's a place for you to go back and reflect as opposed to genuflect, right? Reflect on your year. You know, what did your life do? Did you grow better? Did you help somebody, right? There's an old gospel song, you know, if I journey on my way and I've helped someone, then my living's not been in vain, right? Like, are we living in vain? Is that why you got to celebrate, you know, with all this sort of outlandish stuff? Or did you do something that really mattered, right? And the question becomes, if we can start to make that stain of goodness, of matter, bigger and bigger and bigger than the stain of badness, then the birthday really means something. But we add value by the way we approach it.
And so then my question would be, so I think especially when we're talking like in the context of as an adult, right? And how much does like survival and just like being able to continue on this path that we call life, like how much does that call for celebration, right? Because I figure especially like in this day and age, right, you know, adulting as they call it, right, it's not necessarily easy, right? We got inflation, the economy, you know, it's crazy. There's like the hustle culture and everybody's here. Like, we're just trying to like, can I successfully make it through this year? Do I have enough money to put food on my table? Do I have a roof over my head? Did I find love? Do I have a companion that I'm able to take care of and nurture, right? All these things that say, okay, I've been able to build a good life for myself, even if I'm not necessarily like giving to the community or doing something outward that people can say, okay, yeah, I want to celebrate Josh because he did this for me. But rather me being able to say like, all right, this is another 365 days. I have a roof on my head. I'm making enough money to eat. I have clothes on my back. I have a partner who I'm treating well. And like, I want to celebrate the fact that I've been able to do that for another year. When I see people who are outside who are homeless, when I see people who are, you know, treating their partners in bad ways and things like that, right? So it's like not necessarily that I pushed culture forward or that I gave back to the community, but for myself, I was able to make it another year and find what I deem like success for myself. And so this is what I want to celebrate. And this is what I feel like people who say that they love me, who are my friends, should also celebrate. It's just like, hey, like, you did it. You're doing well for yourself for yet another year. Let's come together and celebrate you. Right? Do we think that like the other thing outweighs that, or?
Two things to that. One, community starts in your house, right? The community, if I'm living with Steven, right? He's my initial community. Every day we get up together. This is my community, right? So the community isn't something that's out there. Community starts here. And then if your community in your house is straight, right? Then when you start to permeate those doors, right? Then you start to influence a broader community. But community starts at home. That's the most important thing. But to your first point, one of the things that we Black people have been trapped into is a consciousness of scarcity, meaning that we believe that resources are scarce, money is scarce, opportunity is scarce, and so we behave that way. And so the reason that becomes our reality is because we believe that's our reality. But when you look at the universe, and we talked about, you know, your birth being this miracle of physical matter and spiritual matter coming together, when you look at the universe, there's no scarcity. There's no scarcity of money. There's no scarcity of opportunities. There's no scarcity of water. There's no scarcity of food. There's no scarcity of opportunity.
It doesn't
right?
exist.
It doesn't even exist. Everything you just spoke about not having exists in abundance. So the question becomes is not that is there scarcity, is why don't you have access to it, right? And the access is not controlled by other people. It's controlled by how we envision and see ourselves. You understand what I'm saying? So that if I'm struggling every day, then I've got to change my perspective. You know what I mean? Like, there's 360 degrees in life. There's a term called functional fixedness, meaning that you become fixed in one way of looking at the world. And when you do that, you limit the amount of exposure you can give to yourself. If there's a problem, I got 360 degrees to walk around and feel that and figure that problem out. But if I'm just looking at it the same way every day because of scarcity, because of hard times, because of all of this stuff, I'm going to stay in that position. Right? So it's that consciousness of scarcity that we just got to get rid of, right? Because when you behave like things are scarce, then you hoard, right? You don't go out and seek, you become defensive, right? But when you know that the whole world is at you, you can become offensive, become aggressive, and change your condition because nobody's changing it for you. It's up to you, period, right? But it's that consciousness of scarcity that limits us and stops us from moving forward.
I like to add something. That was pretty good because both of you guys hit on some points. I have two things to say. One to you, to your idea of self, because it's and this is not a negative, but we're in the kitchen and it might get a little warm. Because for me, I do a we, us, and our. We, us, and our versus me, my, and I. So because with the us, with the we out, with the we, us, and our. Now we go back to what we've done with the community, not just for ourselves. Because what you do for yourself is something that's incumbent that you do to survive. That's something just required. That's a requirement. It's not a win-win-win just for you. Because what you do for you, I think that it should have the umbrella effect to touch others. In terms of value and survival, when you said about surviving it, my son at 12 years old had to have a craniotomy. Between 12 and 14, going into 15, he had to have 3 craniotomies. That means it went up in his brain 3 times. And as he went through it, I have to admit, now I got the chill bumps going on. You can't see them, but I'm telling you they're there. That what I witnessed was, now we go back to, remember, we ain't losing the idea of birthdays, because how do we, is going through 3 craniotomies, and he did it with a very strong show. He didn't cry, he didn't moan and groan, he went into it, right? So now we got him straight. He's going through college, he's at work, and he's doing his thing as a young man. Does his reasons for celebrating his birthday have greater value, similar value, or less value? Versus someone that just woke up into this world, that they got here through the miracle of creation and just decided to go to school, go to work, and just did good for themselves. Is there the idea that someone that goes through missing a limb, having to have surgeries, and having to have debilitating or challenging physical elements or physical challenges, they survived it, so that when their birthday comes around, do we look at that as a reason to have a weekend's worth of celebration, or a week's worth of celebration, or a month's worth of celebration? Is there some sort of scale of what's more important than not? And I think that's when you said about, you mentioned the importance of it, the deserving of it. So, because when I see him and his birthday, I do a very private thing, and to thank God, to thank the Creator for allowing him to continue his life, without a disability. So his birthday means more to me in that particular sense. Now, his birthday doesn't mean more to me than my daughter's, but they have a different meaning.
There's just a different significance to it.
Absolutely.
Because of that.
Absolutely.
I think, that's valid. I think when it comes to, I think that was, it was a really good point about especially I think in our generation, and as of, say, us, or like the millennial generation, I think that's really the thing that is like pushed on us, is that, again, you got to hustle, grind, get to the dollar. There's not that much out there. I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about last week, where it's like the frequencies, the energies, the vibration, the emotional intelligence to like understand what's real versus like what's being fed to you. And so I think that's a good point when you talk about that 360 degrees, right? Like we said, it's conversations like this that help you like open your mind to that, to like realize, okay, there's like more than one way to get a dollar. There's more than, success doesn't mean like this one thing, right? There are different paths to success, and it's about really just like having that knowledge of self, tapping in, having these conversations, and just like opening your mind to more of that, to be able to understand like where your place is in life, and then where you're trying to get to. And then naturally, by you enhancing your own life, enhancing your home, your community, like you said, then now the people in your home are going out and they're enhancing other lives. And
that's right.
It all, it kind of like flowers out from there.
That's right.
Woo!
Question.
Yeah.
The method of celebrating your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And again, so your birthday's on Thursday, and you have to work. So you decided to celebrate it on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Is celebrating, what is the method? Something that we can look at as being somewhat reputable, something wholesome, something that really mirrors not only your success as an individual, but is still giving reverence to those two that were responsible for bringing you into the world? Or is it, where in these days, it's about being, enumerated, just splashed with the liquors and and other things and Helen's and just, you know, being footloose and fancy free on Friday. But come Saturday, does the same type of party, celebration, I mean, why does the same sense of party and celebration that once you have exhausted it on Friday, the one day that you were born, how does that segue into Saturday or Sunday and then Monday and then next weekend? And then people, you would say, well, it's my birthday. When? Last week. Why are you still getting drunk today? Or why are you still expecting cheer today when your birthday was last week? Yeah. And that's a question I've had recently when I hear about the stretching of the celebration period. So the method of celebrating, what are your ideas about the method, the way that you celebrate?
Yeah. I think it's all about, it's fellowship, right? I think everybody's idea of what fellowship is gonna be different, right? For somebody, it might be like, I really like books. So we're all it's like, hey, we're gonna read a book, and then today we're gonna have some wine, and we're gonna like talk about this book with a bunch of people who are interested in the same thing. And then that's just like what makes them feel good. And it's like, I wanna fellowship with people to celebrate my excitement for still being here. Some people may like the party. Me, I'm a partier. I would like to, for my birthday, I'm like, I want to go out, I want to party, I want to hear music, I want to, I just want to like feel good. I think that's what it is. It's about the thing that makes you just like physically, emotionally just feel good and wanting to do that. And I think that's especially heightened when you know that the reason for this is because of you, which is like self-serving, of course, right? But I think that's what it is, right? Because you can go out and you can party any day, right?
Exactly.
But when you're partying and the context is, it's because it's your birthday, these people came out to be with you, to celebrate you. We're always like, everybody's always gonna have an ego, right? We have the ego, the id, as we speak about. And so as much as we try to like push ourselves forwards, like as human beings, like there is this, I think this like innate, I guess for lack of a better word, I'll say like selfishness in that respect, right? I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean that it feels good sometimes to receive that praise, to receive that love, that attention. So I think when people
from your community,
like, from your community,
your people,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say two things. I would say a dinner with your loved ones, fellowship, and experiencing something new.
That's my thing.
As
Huge.
far as if it's traveling, if it's a new hobby, if you wanted to learn something, if you just something, experiencing something new. That's what I've been practicing, is just every year, just when a new year come around, is what am I going to do this year that's different from last year? Touch on what Uncle was saying. Those two things, fellowship and doing something new.
No doubt.
I mean, I think, but you can't afford to overcomplicate it. Like, the idea of just having a relief valve, right? The ability just to enjoy yourself, right? In many cultures, they have things like Carnival, Mardi Gras. You go away from the house or the family for 2 weeks and you just do whatever and you come back. It's this relief valve, right? And so in a society like America, right, we can't divorce ourselves from the reality, right? There's been so much pressure on Black people, you know what I mean, to be nothing but a work product. Like, we weren't brought here to be nephews, friends, brothers. We weren't brought here to be sons, daughters, mothers, fathers. We wasn't brought here for none of that. We were brought here to be cheap labor and die, right? That was the purpose of bringing us here, right? And so we've had to figure out within that process, how do we create these mechanisms, right, where we can just release, and the birthday becomes one of those. And so I wouldn't overcomplicate that with that, because it is that America's been hell, you know what I mean? And it ain't stopped. You see what I'm saying? So, you gotta have that ability to just release sometimes, and that, if that's taking whatever you gotta do, whatever your methodology is for that, right? But it shouldn't overrun your life, right? It shouldn't make your life dysfunctional.
Shouldn't continue.
Right? But you gotta have a release, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Because then the next day you got to get back in the grind, or the next week you got to get back in the grind. You know what I mean? But the point is that, being able to get a release is important. And the other part about us is that we can't forget is that our culture is full of pageantry. You go back thousands and thousands of years, we was wearing gold necklaces and, you know what I mean, putting earrings on and painting our faces and had crazy. So we full of pageantry, right? And we don't have to divorce ourselves from that. That's the stuff we should embrace. You know what I mean? This idea of dressing up, going out, getting fly, right? You know, all of that. That's cultural, and that is something that is part of who we are, period. We're not minimalist. That got nothing to do with who our culture is. You know what I mean? Ever. You know what I mean? We didn't grow up in caves. We didn't come from caves where you walked in the cave and you know what I mean? You sat around a little piece of hot rock and, you know, you ate what was it. We didn't have none of that, right? There's no history of that in our culture. You know what I mean? Yeah. We grew up with palaces and pyramids and, you know, monuments and, you know what I mean? And all of that. So it's, you know, we you know, it's okay to be, you know, to express ourselves and enjoy our culture. You know what I mean?
And so it's in our DNA.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's in our DNA.
Yeah, yeah. Because like and when you say it, whenever I don't wear suits often, but whenever I do, boy, I'm a whole different. Let me have a fresh cut and a suit on. Don't talk to me. Don't even. You know what I mean? But and it's just something that like, yeah, it's just this like innate, almost like even just like emotion. Like you just like feel it when I dress up and like just feel good, and it's just like, you know what I mean? So that makes sense. That comes from just like, you know, like the ancestors. This is like what they did. And I'm sure the same thing probably applies. That's why we like jewelry and we want to wear the gold and the chains and stuff like that. It's like we was kings is the joke, right? They say when people are being woke and they was talking about like black, because like, yo, we that's where we come from. We were kings, so that's why it's something to embrace. About
15 years ago, there was a fossil found in like Europe somewhere, but it was a black person, right? And it was perfectly preserved because it got frozen in the snow. One of the things you recognized with the skin was brown, it was black cat, and he had on jewelry. Wow. And it was 4,500 years. They carbon dated it back to 4,500 years. So 4,500 years ago, this dude is up in the mountains in Europe, right? You know, probably running from whatever. You know what I mean? But he was
yeah.
I would say that as a family and our community, we all have a position, especially on the team: quarterback, linebacker, receiver. For me, and my thing as I'm thinking, I go back to what Prince said. He was born one day. And so for me, and then for the people listening, it's just not to take from anything that you see for yourself. It's just to consider another spirit offering the thoughts. That's all it is. But for me, again, too much sugar in the cornflakes will ruin the cornflakes. So if you are celebrating on Friday's your birthday, and you celebrate it successfully, with the pageant environment, all the sounds, the taste, the vibration, the love, the cheer, it was perfect. But come Saturday, what Leslie just said, it's time to get back to work. Because now, the next day after your birthday is the first day of your new year. Mm-hmm. So how would you allow the celebration of the previous successful year to interfere with the start of the new year that you have not even started your work at?
What if it's commemorating though, right? What if it's now? This is my new year, so like I'm starting off already celebrating how good of a year it's about to be.
On the second day after your birthday, again I go back to too much sugar will ruin the cornflakes. My thing is to say that I think that if you allow your birthday to segue into the next day and then the next day and the next day, why not just do it for the whole next year? Why is it's only 3 days or 1 week or 1 month? Why is it not 6 months?
So are you saying that we should live every day like it's our birthday?
I would say that you celebrate the day that your parents were successful at getting you here, and not just for you, but part of that celebration day is one half for you, one half for them.
So and you're saying 1 day.
1 day. And then the next day you start with the work to make sure the next year and to get to your next celebration is worthy. You're worthy of that celebration. That's my point. So, because I recently, coming from Atlanta, first time my daughter had a birthday weekend, and it was a challenge with my thought process. Because I was there when she was born. And that was 1 day. It didn't take 3 days to get you here.
Right.
And so then I started noticing how even she's in a younger crowd, and then even those in my age group started with if you go on a cruise for your birthday, then that would take 5 days. And during that 5 days, you're celebrating. So it doesn't, I don't want to make myself sound like I have a conflict of interest here in thought. But my point is that if we continue to allow our modern-minded pursuits to continue, why not just go the whole year versus just 1 weekend or one week or 1 month? So I'm just trying to say, let's have this conversation. So maybe we get back to some, because we got a lot of work to do. Like my brother said, they didn't bring us here for parties. They came here, they brought us here to work and die. In order for that to be not the case anymore, I think that there's some work that we got to do collectively, and it starts with our spirit into our mind.
All right, so like this, let us know in the comment. Well, first thing I will say, as far as the birthdays, I think one of the biggest takeaways is celebrate your parents too, right? Like, yeah, you was born, it's your birthday, but like you here because of them. So like, let's give a little more love to the folks.
Big ups to our parents. Woo, woo,
Big
woo,
ups to the
woo.
parents. Love you, moms, pops, all that. But what I want you to do, so let us know in the comments how much birthday is too much birthday. I know we've got a couple like differing opinions in the room, but I wanna hear from y'all. Drop it down below in the YouTube comments. Where do you think, how many days is too much? How much do we think is like the standard? Yeah, where do we draw the line for celebrating? Cool. And so to shift gears a little bit, and talk. So I do want to touch on some music real quick, right? We do have some big drop that just happened the other day with Playboi Carti.
Playboi Carti.
So now listen, Playboi Carti has this dude's got one of the most cult following. It's actually like insane, right? You have like fandom, like people who are fans of music, but then Playboi Carti, who in some people's eyes can do like absolutely no wrong. It's like it's kind of ridiculous almost. But he dropped an album. It's called I Am Music. 30 songs, and it's been 5 years since he dropped this album actually.
Wow.
Yep. And so he has 30 songs on there. I'm not the biggest like Playboi Carti fan. Personally, I'm more like I guess I'm closer more on like the hip hop purist like side of things, right? I still like lyrics and things like that. But I know every like different type of music has its own place. You know what I'm saying? And so if I'm listening to Playboi Carti, I know it's not because I'm looking for bars. I'm not looking for lyrics. I'm just like, it's just like an energy. Maybe this is something I want to work out to. This is gonna get right. Yeah, it's a mood. It's a vibe. And so I listened to it, and like even my like golden age hip hop pure self, like I enjoyed it. I absolutely enjoyed it. Kendrick is on there a lot. He has like actually a verse that everybody's talking about there. And he's done like a lot of the.
You know the verse?
Do I like know the verse? Like, can I rap it to you?
Can you recite it?
Nah. Ain't no.
Is he a rapper?
Yeah. Kendrick, yeah, he's a rapper. Yeah, and it just came out yesterday. But so like right now though, so they say that the Playboi Carti, they say it's YN music, right? And I feel like the whole like have you been seeing that? Like how people just talk about this like YN this, YN that, right?
Young nigga.
Yeah. And do you know like how would you define a YN?
A YN. Yeah. Young nigga.
But do you know like the connotation that comes, because like when the people say YN, they don't just mean somebody who's young.
Right.
But it's like like a YN is supposed to be like a young, like someone who's like savage. Like the YNs are like the kids who run around with ski masks and guns and like
negative connotation.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What it is, the collective is talking, right? There's a new culture that has emerged through the internet, the World Wide Web, and where we are right now being 2025 it's a group consciousness where the young cats is being heard, the elders is being heard, and it's all on one platform, right? It's all being broadcasted. So terms are being created, symbols are being generated to think about like the common phrase or the common goal or the common mood, to generalize a concept or a thought, right? So YN, that was like basically text gibberish, right? And through, running ads, through like, popular culture, now it's become like a popular term, right? But the birth of YN is just young nigga, a young nigga, a young black person. young, flair, popular, post-driven African American, right? So, yeah, man, it's just one of those things that has been birthed in our culture.
Let me ask a question about the question that you asked. The YNs, we said that are primarily looked at as negative. So, from my observations, and I've seen the YN a lot, and when I do see it, I think that there's a different spin to the reality of how we got to the negative connotation of YN. Because I think what they're demonstrating is the YNs that are doing the street takeovers and going in the middle of the street, doing those donuts. I think that they're talking about those videos that you see when you see between 12-year-olds and 18-year-olds standing on a porch with their pants sagging and they're all waving guns. I think they might be demonstrating the fact that when you look in the malls now, it's 12-year-olds up to 20-year-olds that are going into the stores and running out with handfuls of product for free, and they're stealing it, or just running out with it, tearing it up, or going in for a smash and grab. The YN scenario, I think, has went to the dark side, and I think it's more chaotic now. And that's why they associate YN youngins, young Negroes, with the negative, because they show the YN with a video or story that's chaotic. And I think that's come in future episodes that we have these discussions. We can probably tap into some of that, because I think that goes back to what Leslie demonstrated about birthdays and the celebrating within the cultures, and how our culture will move forward with a little bit more positive fluidity, you know, because we need a lot more harmony and peace.
You know, one of the things you can't forget is that we don't control in the past, the argument was we didn't control our narrative, right? They make the movie about the nigga. They make the movie or the music video about the, you know, da 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 da. The record company chooses, you know, to use positive or negative hip hop that reflects bad versus positive. But today, the sad part of our reality is that we are in a position to control our narrative. And when we do have the ability to voice our thing, it proves that white people did a great job. They have an A+ for what they did in conditioning our minds. Because even when we have the right to tell stories, we still point the gun at one another, right? When I go make a movie, I make and write the script about me pointing a gun at another black man, right? When I go make the movie or the music, I call the sister a bitch, a hoe, right? They did that for us for 400 years, right? They conditioned our minds like that for 400 years, right? Now today, the same things are happening, but guess what? Gwendolyn Brooks in the 1960s said, solve the riddle of outside in, white man's children in black man's skin. We are now the purveyors of the filth and the untruth about who we are. We are now the cultural killers of our own culture, because we allowed them to inseminate our minds with their ideology. It's called identification with the oppressor. When I see Stephen through the eyes that the white man sees him through, then I see my enemy. And then I see nothing that I respect. And if I don't respect him, then that means I don't respect myself. And if I don't respect myself, then I will put myself out there in a way that makes that known. You understand what I'm saying? And the last part of this is this. There are hundreds of thousands of young black brothers going to college. There are hundreds of thousands of young black brothers and sisters that are entrepreneurs. There's hundreds and thousands of black brothers and sisters that's controlling their own businesses, that speak multiple languages, that are creating different industries and different things. There's a brother over in Africa who's created a way for stuff to run forever and never need to be charged. Why ain't that the narrative? You understand? It's not the narrative because we've been programmed. What I start off by talking about? A consciousness of scarcity. We've been taught that we don't have these opportunities, we don't have resources, we don't have the ability to do these things, right? And so we are living out a lie. They have impregnated our consciousness with this bullshit. And you see it because when you have the very opportunity to tell your own story, you tell a story against yourself.
That's fine. I think on that note, We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But what I will say is we reclaiming YN, man.
Woo!
YN, we
Straight up.
reclaiming YN, man. When you see YN, we're not talking about these, you know what I mean, the little demons running around going crazy. The YNs, they in college, they getting degrees. You feel me? They taking care of their families. They doing all that, because that's what we doing here, right? We're pushing culture forward. We are changing things.
Can I ask
man.
one question on the rap?
We got
One. It takes 5 seconds.
Go ahead.
For everyone listening, something I've always thought about is that in our culture, what like Leslie just demonstrated about our greatness, who's the fastest person on 2 feet in the world? A black man. Who's the baddest from here? A black man. So when we learn to use this, who can stand before us?
Nobody. Nobody. All right.
Straight the fuck up.
All right. So shout out to the
Huge.
good YNs of the world out there. You know what I'm
Big
saying? Listen,
good
thank you
one.
so
Yes,
much for
sir.
tapping in with us for yet another week. You know what we need you to do. Like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review on Apple, 5-star review on Spotify. Hit that post notification bell on YouTube. Drop a comment. Tap in with us. Let us know what you think of this conversation. Let us know what you want to hear next. Once again, I have been Dusty P.
SCSJR.
Uh-huh.
Just picks my baby.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And Mr. Chris.
All right, this is
Yes,
Forever
sir.
Open Radio, baby. We out.
We
Catch
out,
you later.
baby. See you on the next one.